Greetings, it is I, your archivist, and today we're going to talk about World Building 101. Now, my mic is busted, hence the gaming headset. I hope that the sound is good and to your liking. Now, when we're going to start world building, okay, this is brand new from scratch. We are dealing with the blank sheet of reality, so to speak. When we're talking about world building, this can be very daunting, as you can literally do anything. You can make horses people and people horses. You could do crazy stuff. With that being said, here's what I propose as some guidelines, at least guidelines that have helped me. Again, ultimately, the process is what you decide. It's what you want to have happen. It's what works for you, not for me or anyone else. So take the things that work, set the things that don't work to the side, and go from there. So here's what I propose. Starting, number one, what you're going to do is you're going to take and identify what your purpose is. Describe your why. In my opinion, why is one of the most powerful questions, as it leads to such a greater range of answers that are possible. Where is limited to places. When is, time, all that. Why can be so deep and rich and nuanced. So what's your why? Okay? So consider your goals. All right? You could be a writer. If you're a writer, your first and foremost job is to write. It's not hard to figure out. So at some point, you need to not be out in other realms doing the etiquette of a kingdom that you're never going to see. Okay, that makes no sense if you're a writer. Because again, the writing comes first. Now, GMing, the goal is to put on a good game session, to have your players in a world that is going to be interesting, rich, and nuanced, fun, interesting to explore. Okay, those are your goals. So ultimately, that's what you want to do. Now, you can, and it is totally allowed, to just do this for the hell of the doing it. Okay, for the sake of doing it, you just want to create. There is no end goal at the moment. This can always change, and when it changes, just change things accordingly. But you can create for the sake of creating. That's perfectly fine. Now, with that being said, why matters. You're identifying your structure and framework matters, but I do want to make one caveat. Just because you're a writer, and let's say you have an outline. Okay, you're one of those. I'm one that kind of has to outline, world build, and then I outline again, and then I write, and then I world build, and then I do the second edit. Right, that's kind of my process, and it helps deepen everything. Okay, just say you have the outline for your story. You can have a time that you say, hey, I'm going to go world build, I'm going to just keep working on things, let's see what happens, and something may come out of that that's beyond the writing. And then you go, oh, man, wouldn't it be awesome if while they were skiing down the slope, a tornado happens, but that tornado is sentient, meaning it can feel. It's not sapient. Don't get that confused. That's one of my little pet peeves. Anyways, that being aside, right? Trust the process. Those should be your end goal and aim. Those are to keep you focused, but they should not become the focus. Okay. So next, I would say once you've got your why and you're like, all right, I know why am I doing this? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to do tone and genre. Why are you going to do tone and genre? Okay. Because these are so broad in their kind of applications. Tone could be grimdark. We all know what grimdark is nowadays. That seems to be popular and on the rise. Then you have the opposite of grimdark, which is, it's not Disney because that's like corporate dystopian happy time. Light hope. There you go. I just created a new genre. You're welcome. I'm sure someone in the comments is going to be like, bitch, this is what the genre actually is. It is what it is. Okay, so the reason tone and genre are important because they're so overarching and they encapsulate the experience of the story, okay? So think of tone and genre, like I just said, they're like containers. You're going to highlight certain experiences, certain emotions, certain kinds of being, so that kind of philosophy stuff. You're going to take those, and that's going to shape your world. Now, so for instance, Warhammer 40K, grimdark, right? But there are moments of hope. There are moments of happiness, though they are few and far between, right? So don't think that the container is like hard set rules. It's just a general tendency towards a certain kind of experience of storytelling, okay? So get the tone, get your genre down. Now, something to remember about genres too, you can mix and match, get what you want. I'm a science fantasy writer. I said, why the hell would I want fantasy without sci-fi, and why the hell would I want sci-fi without fantasy? I grew up on Star Wars. That's my crack and cocaine. Okay? So why should I have to choose? You can't make me. It's a free country. Fight me. Right? So, with that being said, this is why you do your tone and genre, okay? So you're going to kind of lay this out. Again, these can change over time. Don't make this set in stone. Do what works for you, what makes you happy, what makes you satisfied with it, okay? So now that we got tone and genre down, okay, sci-fi, and then you could go down into like, quick aside, and I think this might help some clarification because I do feel like I'm maybe running through this. I might have to make a follow-up video. We'll see. When you're dealing with tone and genre, okay? For my instance, for me, I wanted sci-fi fantasy, right? So science fantasy. And I wanted that to be very broad because in my universe, I wanted to have places that are going to feel very mystical, like Star Wars, Force, and Jediism. Or I wanted to have areas that would feel very kind of sci-fi and Terminator, or every other sci-fi in existence just left my brain. Mass Effect. I wanted them to have that kind of feel, or others that feel like a collective of things that, God, why are these terms just leaving? You know what? I'm going to leave it in. That's punishment for not having your shit together. Okay, so I'll make sure I have my shit together next time. Anyways, my goal was that I wanted a sci-fi that could have these areas that were like subgenres that were underneath science fantasy, right? So I have one that's like a cyberpunk area, and I have another that is like high magic, right? Okay, so that being said, you can do that. Again, do what you want and think outside the box. Make yourself happy, because if you're doing this and you're not happy, the hell you doing this for? Like, for real, go back to your why. All right, so let's say we got tone and genre down, okay? Sounds good. We're happy with that. The next thing people might say is to have a thematic statement, to which I'd say, the hell you mean thematic statement? What do you mean by that? You see, there have been scholars who have ventured into the arcane academia, into the hidden halls where the most esoteric of wisdom is found, and there they found the vaunted thematic statement. This thematic statement, you see, is this kind of mystical essence of saying things without saying things, or to present truths without saying truths, to show and not tell, sometimes in the most absurd manner. Okay, kidding aside, I have a problem with thematic statements, okay? Everyone's like, oh, thematic statements, stories are supposed to be moral, debates and discussion. Screw that shit. That irritates me. I'll have a whole lecture, like I could. Anyways, I'll have a whole thing on it later, right? But here's what I would propose. There's a problem with statements. Statements inherently come in with an assertion that it's finished. I have said the thing, and the horizon of possible answers that come after that, or following subsequential statements, these things are going to be very limited in scope. So here's what I propose. Not thematic statements, but thematic. Oh, did you say it? Did you say it? Did you get it? If you did, yeah, say it in the comments. Show your ego in the comment section, brother. Thank you. Or sister, whatever. Yeah, show it. Okay. Thematic questions. For those of you who didn't see what was coming, thematic questions. Why? Well, because questions are open-ended. Questions invite exploration. Questions are, well, as one person put it, often more elegant than the answers. And why is that? Because they leave open a vast range of possibilities. So, for instance, Instead of saying, the thematic statement of a story is that love conquers all, it could be, what does it mean to love? Or how does love conquer? And then you have variations of, well, love conquers all. And maybe love conquers in a tragic way. And I got myself into a kind of box because, again, I didn't come prepared with a kind of idea. I just am shooting from the hip. But you could ask yourself, why would you make a YouTube video without a script? That's a great thematic question. Something that could be interesting. I'm just trying to kind of be more genuine in this and just talk about it. I am so sick of editing. Editing is the bane of my existence. I have 3 kids and a wife, and I have got to get my shit together and taking care of them better. So editing is out the door. Okay? So I hope the quality of the ideas is better. Okay, that being said, questions allow you to explore to encourage exploration and creativity. They invite complexity and nuance. What they're going to do is that they're going to allow you to evolve the answers over time. You could say, does love conquer all? That's probably a better thematic statement. Does love conquer all? And so in one instance you could show in your story that it does, and another you could show the tragedy of how that would work. And another you could say it doesn't. It doesn't conquer. There are some things that just said piss off love, I don't care. That'd be an interesting story. Go ahead and write it and hit me up. Okay. So with thematic questions, okay, and also you could do this, look at any stories. Star Wars kind of has the thematic question of, what is good and evil? Or what does good and evil look like? My Fitbit's telling me to walk, so I'm going to pace. Um, and it can also be the nature of reality, right? Like, what is the Force? Well, the Jedi say it's this one thing and the Sith say it's this other, but I'm on the side of Kreia saying they're both losers. If you know, you know. Um, Once you have your thematic statements out of the way, and quick aside, if you're having a hard time, go study another story that you like or world building that you like, and see what are the questions that kind of come up. These are the kind of similar thematic themes, right? So like, for instance, in The Witcher, it's like, what is a monster? Well, and the way The Witcher tends to do it is it's not the monsters who are the monstrous ones. It's the people. The people. I once told my kids we were talking about monsters and they were scared. And I said, and one of them said, oh, and the monsters don't exist. I said, oh, I don't know, because all the monsters that I know are other people. And I think that's a scarier part when you get that kind of idea done right. Okay, so now we're done through our thematic questions. Let's go on to the next topic, limitations, okay? I think limitations are the best thing that you could ever do in world building. Why are board games interesting? It is because they have good rules. Why is poker such a great game? It's because of the rules. Blackjack only works because of the rules. Why does every video game that you ever played work? Because of the rules. Now, there are good rules and bad rules. You could have a rule that says, you're not allowed to breathe oxygen, and you might kill a lot of things along the way. Now, you could have a rule like I did and said, I happen to say, I want gods in my universe. I think that'd be cool, but not gods in the agnostic sense, sitting off way out and staying out of shit, right? No, no, no. I want the messy stuff. I want the Greek gods of Zeus flying down as a bird and everyone covering their shit. You could have a reality like he's coming down and you got artillery. That'd be such a funny animation. Artillery blowing up the sky as this goose is coming in, and you know why he's coming in, right? Anyways, I wanted to have gods. I didn't want to have, goosey, rapey gods. That's ridiculous. But I wanted to have gods and I wanted them to be active. But at the same time, it's like, well, you have to ask yourself a question, a thematic question. You have to ask yourself a question. Well, if the gods are active and they're being a part of stuff, why are they not like totally running the show? Where can you have free will in the system? And I said, I have an idea. Because what we do is we're going to throw limitations on them bitches. Yeah, divine bitches. so we throw our limitations. So I said one of the things is, one, they cannot manifest into a normal reality, right, into material reality, unless they manifest into a body. And I said, okay, well, when they manifest into a body, that requires a lot of their energy to create and maintain that body, therefore opening them up to the ability to be killed. The other thing is I put in there that's kind of in Arakasha's story, that gods can be changed by their theologies. So gods gain their power from the belief of the people, but in turn, those beliefs can then shape the gods. I have a whole another video on how I do gods. That will hopefully make this more interesting, because it gets so much more nuanced than that. But yeah, so there's some beliefs, right? Beliefs. There are some limitations. So now I can have gods. They cannot come directly interfere with people. People know that they're alive. And that they're active and that they give their people power, right? But then you have competing gods, because I also said no god can be ultimately powerful. And I keep a lot of checks and balances. So it's just the idea that I ultimately came up with is that everything in my universe should just be layers of conflict. So you have mortal layers of conflict, divine layers of conflict, universal layers of conflict. It's just conflict all the way down. So that being said, once you get your limitations on a broad scale, start going to a small scale. Okay. Ew, well, I don't know what the hell that was. So when you got your limitations, you need to embrace limitation. I think that's the first thing foremost. Yes, I know you would like to have everything in your story, but no, stop it. Get help. I'm not putting the meme in. It's just not happening. I'm not going to do it. But just get help by getting limitations. Okay? So what what limitations do is that they allow you to force innovation and creativity within the constraints. Why is strategy, or why do certain strategies show up in games like Magic the Gathering? I'm going to get my talking back under control. I apologize. Games like Magic the Gathering, or, well, even poker, right? Because then you have the whole system of bluffing and all that. Because it's built on the limitations. The limitations are actually where all the strategies come out of. Limitations can also prevent plot holes and keep logical inconsistencies from coming to the universe. So for instance, I did a whole thing on time magic where if you're going into the future, you're actually going into possible futures, because I don't believe in a concrete future. If the universe does, quote, have a present moment in time, then that means all future possibilities are simultaneously happening, being likely, unlikely, and highly unlikely and highly likely, right? But if you jump into the future, it's not permanent. Like it's not already substantiated. And that is because I'm assuming there's a present moment in my reality. And then in the past, you just jump back into a moment in time, and you have to have some stuff there. Again, I'm going to make a video on it talking about it, because I got to get content out for the algorithm gods, who should have limitations, by the way. But that's not my choice. I wish it was. Okay, so you get it. Limitations, they're great. Everyone loves them. You know it. I know it. Asmund knows it. Okay, let's go on. Let's talk about the negation technique. Okay, once you've started from your limited limited frame of reference, okay? So your limitations, you've got them squared away. Now we're going to go through a negation technique, and what you do is you start removing elements that don't fit in your universe. You start saying, like, for instance, I think a very good idea very quickly is to say time travel. Be gone, Satan. It's going to start causing all sorts of weird things unless you limit the shit out of that system. And then you cannot affect things in the past. You may be able to affect things coming from the future in such a way that again, those are possible. So then you work in the present to make that an actuality. Okay. You want to work on negating things. figuring out, okay, how can I bring this element in, but how do I get rid of the bad things? Or how do I start getting rid of stuff that I don't want in my universe? For instance, Resurrections. I said, no. I've watched Dragon Ball Z. I love that series. That stuff is dope. Like literal dope. But yeah, no Resurrections. When you die and there's a 3-day limit, you're done. It's it, son. Even the gods cannot bring you back. You're in the afterlife. Get out, be gone. So negation, use that. Next, I'm gonna scroll down. Okay, here we go. I've already covered it. Implement specific rules. Get down into the nitty gritty. We've gone from the top level to the mid range where we're negating out major ideas. Go, we don't want this shit in here. We do not want communist happy elf ponies. Get them out. The next is that we're going to implement specific rules, time travel restrictions, magic system limitations, power level for gods and supernatural beings, if they're even going to exist. This gets into the nitty gritty of your metaphysics. Great. That's awesome. You got it done. Now let's go. You next need to be doing your creative problem solving. You need to work within those limitations. You need to say, okay, how does this work? Where does it work? How would people work around this? How do I work around this to make something cool and interesting, right? Because I threw up the rule like, no time travel, no resurrections, and all this, right? And then I was like, oh, no resurrections, but like, why can't you have stories in the afterlife? Layers of conflict. Why is it that things are happening in the afterlife that, have no bearing? What if they had bearing? What if the afterlife is the realm of the gods? That's kind of where all they're out sitting around and all that, but you have shit going on there. So like when you die and the god claims you or whatever, and, you go into their afterlife because, you serve them and whatnot, then you're serving them and trying to further their goal in the afterlife. Maybe you're trying to maintain their power, or you're trying to keep a rival from doing shit. Or maybe, you're just out there to live and do stuff, or you're trying to look after your family and friends that you left behind by, maybe doing deals with divine beings or whatever who are going to then give them stuff that they need. There you go. Fucking, it's not so much an afterlife as a life after, and that makes things cool. You don't just get rid of people. I think that's awesome. So there you go. That's an interesting idea. Again, gonna do a whole other video on the afterlife and how to make it interesting, or at least how I made it interesting, which is interesting because I made it and it's interesting and I think it's interesting, therefore it's cool. Okay, so we're gonna push on. Now we got all this stuff. We've been crazy with it. Now we need to kind of come back down to being serious. Consistency and evolution. That's going to be your next goal. Keep things consistent while also moving things forward in a logical manner. Internal consistency is going to be one of the key concepts to making people like your reality. But your world building, your reality. We're all gods now. We're creating shit, bro. Keep things consistent. Don't violate your own rules. People really hate that shit. They would rather you do something kind of heinous in the world than to violate it. That has been my experience. With all that being said, you have your consistency. You have your evolution. That's what I labeled that. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to start drawing inspiration. Now, what do I mean by drawing inspiration? Well, what I mean is you're going to steal that shit. That's what you're going to do. That's what we're going to do. We're going to steal like an artist. And what does that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked, because before you start on this stealing and AI and crazy shit like that, slow down. Take a deep breath. Go touch some grass. It's okay. You're going to survive. So there's a saying, it's attributed to Pablo Picasso. I'm pretty sure his first name's Pablo. But, amazing artist. And actually what's interesting is I was doing a little research on him, and it showed that like before he ever became the Picasso that we knew, he was doing all this other art styles. And he was pretty boss at it. And then ultimately he came to his own style. But what he had said is, a good artist imitates, a great artist steals. And what he means by that is that you go look at other people's stuff and go, how'd they do that? I love that idea. Like you could do Kung Fu Panda and go, man, I love this. idea of the martial arts and the chi and all that. How did they do that, right? Um, and of course, they stole the idea from Chinese metaphysics and their martial arts traditions. Um, but you take it and you go, what is it about this idea that I like? And you sit down and you peel away the onions until you get to the Shrek. And the Shrek at the middle of it is the thing you like, because everyone likes Shrek. If you don't like Shrek, get the fuck out of here. I don't, no, you're done. Get out. Out, 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 out. There's a door right there. Go. Go. Okay, anyways. You get to the Shrek of the issue. And you find, you go, oh, I love this. This thing is great. This is the thing that I want. Fantastic. You figured it out. Now take it, make it your own. So, for instance, you might find an alchemical magic system that someone came up with, and then you go, oh man, I like this idea. Oh, yeah, that's right. Equivalent exchange, right? You go, oh man, I like the idea of equivalent exchange. And then you just take that principle that you like, and then you go put it into something else, right? And you make it different. And that is the goal. Yes, steal the idea. Ideas are cheap. But then you got to figure out how to implement it. Make it different. Make it interesting. Make it your own. Okay? So there you go. That's what you're going to do. You're just going to look around and go, man, what do I like? It's like every time I watch a movie, I read a book, I'm always like in the back of my head going, what do I love? Oh, I love that thing. Oh man, mechs. Oh, mechs are awesome. How can I put mechs in my universe and make them feel like they're native and natural to my universe? And I'm like, oh yeah, well the Dominion has spirit binders and they use spirits to go power technology. So what if you could get over the square root law by actually taking a spirit and shoving its ass in the ass of a mech, and that mech is then powered, and then by the spirit, being there, and then that spirit actually is negating some of the laws of physics that you have to deal with. And so, the Dominion's boss, because they have mechs and everyone else is a bunch of losers because they don't have mechs, and there you go, right? And that's how you draw that inspiration, is just sit there and go, man, if you love it. And now again, this is if you have a wide, massive universe like I'm trying to build, like D&D, Lord of the Rings, Mass Effect levels of massive, that's great. If it's a one-shot story or a small universe, be chill, my friend. You can make something else bigger later, unless you find that it works for you. Again, it's your thing. It's your process. Do you. Okay? All that being said, analyze your favorite stories, figure out the things that you want, and gradually take those things in there that you love and go put them in there. The last thing I'm going to tell you is, as I said before, this is a process. It's an ongoing process. This is your process. Do the things that make you feel good. Do the things that set your soul on fire, that make you get up and want to do it again every day. Ask new questions, formulate new thematic statements. Questions, don't you do statements. See, I tried to get you there. If you nodded your head yes, you need to say in the comment section, I'm sorry. Okay? Very good. But it's an ongoing process. Innovate within your framework. Enjoy yourself. And go do that thing that, again, sets your soul on fire. So there you go. That's the video. That's my World Building 101. We're almost at 30 minutes. I talk a lot. I hope it was good. If it was good, let me know. A like, subscribe, comment. Feed that algorithm, feed that algorithm god. That little bastard. Feed him, and I'll hopefully have more videos out. I'm going to try to start rapid shooting these out, and I hope it helps. If you have something you want me to spend a little more time on, any particular subject, if you want to talk about thematic questions, whatever, tell me in the link below. The link below? Jesus Christ. Tell me in the comment section below, and hopefully I'll see it. If I'm a decent person, maybe we'll see how I'm feeling that day. And enjoy. And if you want to see my own world building at work, I'm a writer. I've got stories there. I've got links to my Amazon page. Anything helps, whatevs. Anyways, have a great day. We'll get back to you next time. I've been your archivist, and we're out. Peace.